Greetings, I'm Undone Builder, and today I'm going to show you how to make galactic maps. This was a request by one of my subscribers, and I'll jump right into it. So a galactic map is kind of, well, as it sounds, a map of a galaxy, like shown here, a map of the Star Wars genre. I'm going to show you the difference between two kinds of the maps I've made. I've made quite a few on Roblox, but these are my two styles. This being the Star Wars one, this being the Star Trek one. Heresy to make both, I know. But as you'll notice, there are some key differences between these two styles. One is the Star Trek one is a lot brighter, simply because Star Trek has a much larger color palette than Star Wars generally. But another reason for that is that I have decided in the Star Trek one to make solar systems, not just planets. And in Star Wars, it is simply planets. So Star Trek has stars and various nebulas and such, whereas Star Wars simply has planets. It's a visual preference for whichever you enjoy. And I will make a starter pack of various assets from these two maps, which you can use to make your own galactic maps for whatever you may need them for. But basically, I'll just jump right in, making a small little map of anything to show you how I do mine. I'll start with just a blank place here. What you want to do is you want to go into View, open up Explorer and Properties, and in the Properties you will find Lighting, or in the Explorer, I'm sorry, and you'll, in the Lightings Properties, find Time of Day. You want to set that to 0. That will make kind of a default space box. It's kind of moon, so you might want to remove that, up to you. Or you can simply, type in space in the toolbox and find a space skybox of your liking, but we're just going to leave it at the default time of day for now. In Workspace, you'll then want to find the base plate. You'll want to, in its properties, find its size. And you'll want to increase the two 512s to just really infinite. It'll automatically go to its maximum size. This is what the players will be walking on while viewing your map, unless you're advanced enough to have a free camera system. But I'll copy over one of these solar systems from the Star Trek genre. Get us started here. Now, I suggest moving the planets halfway into the base plate. You don't have to do this, but what this does is it kind of it gives a little more three-dimensional space feeling when people are looking at the map. I'll copy over a few Star Wars ones too, just, to be fair. But again, I will include these items in a starter pack model, which I'll link in the description. So once that's done, you'll want to make your base plate transparent, which you can find in its properties. And then from there, you can just copy these solar systems to, however many you want, depending on your universe. Make them whatever you like. So if you're going to use my Star Trek ones, which again will be linked, I'll give you a brief rundown of how they work. For the center sun, there is not simply just a neon part, because I don't think that's enough glow. Suns glow more than that. So I added a light brick in there too to add some extra flare to the sun to make it glow more, look like an actual sun. On all the planets, on both the Star Wars and Star Trek ones, I have a name part above each one. It just uses the default Roblox naming system with the humanoid and head. So if you just rename that model, your version in this case, it'll rename the planet. For the Star Trek ones with the solar system, I have an emboldened text up here, which you can find in name and change the name of for whatever you may want it to be if you decide to use that system. Another neat feature to the Star Trek ones is that they have these neat little rings. This was suggested to me by Arctic Citadel, a wonderful fellow, and he showed me that without these rings to define what solar systems are, it gets a little bit chaotic. And thank you to him for that and the decals that provide the little rings. Wonderful fellow. And so you'll want to move your planets, if you use this system, onto the little rings halfway through. Looks best. To define where your solar system is, you can make a few more rings if you like. If you've got 3 orbital things, up to you. But that's about the simplistic way of making a solar system. I suggest changing up the color of the sun and text now and then to give it a little variety like it did in the brightly colored Star Trek. A few other things I'll show. I'll provide a nebula in the pack, which you can simply just outright place. It uses particles, and you'll find in there a name which you can rename to whatever you want. You can also recolor the particles if you'd like to do that as well. Up to you. Asteroids also will be provided. They're pretty simple. I just suggest moving them slightly down on the base plate so they aren't like floating above all the other planets. But you can just copy these however many you want. They're pretty simple. And last but not least, well, actually not last, are trade routes. You'll notice in my Star Wars design, I've designed some, well, really simple moving triangles to represent trade routes through space. If you like this design, I will provide in the pack the way to use them. It is simply a triangle, which then repeats itself in a movement. So if you want to make more of them, just copy it, move it to the end, and basically when the game starts, those things will look like it's one universal triangle moving between planets. Lovely. And then some wonderful wormholes. Now these were a bit difficult for me to create because Roblox particles aren't quite set up to use them. I had to script some particles to make it all work. Basically, it doesn't look very good in Studio. It'll only look great in game when you do it. Again, there's a name part you can rename to whatever you like. But in game, basically, this part rotates, creating the wormhole illusion. You can change the colors to whatever you want, but up to you. So I'll make a pack with all these assets which you can use. Basically, I combine these to make the various maps I have. It's all pretty simple. I'll provide some borders too, because you know everyone wants borders. And that's about it. I'm Undone Builder. Please like and subscribe.